and maybe learn something tonight that will keep us so to be better useful for you in your kingdom. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So now we're going to look at the last two keys. We had 7 keys. We're going to look at the last 2 keys. We looked at, it's called PREVNT, prevent, the 7 keys. And the first one was prayer, spiritual center, then relaxation, exercise activity, viewpoint. Then we're going to look at time management. Now we're going to look at emotional health, all right, and physical and emotional health. So tonight we're going to be stressing something that's different, that is important. So I want to follow closely. Remember to get your pen and notepad or your pencil, whatever. Take some notes because we're going to ask some questions in between. So feel free to stop with and see you want to ask a question or you want the point to be clarified. Here we go. We have a few anecdotes or something to relax your mind to make you laugh. He says, Anguished English. Signposts in foreign countries welcoming English tourists and communicating various kinds of information to them. All right. 2 signs in a major can shop. Entrance, English well talking, and here speaking American. Speech in American. All right. On the door of a Moscow hotel room, if this is your first visit to the USSR, you're welcome to it. In the lobby of a Moscow hotel room across from a Russian Orthodox monastery, you are welcome to visit the cemetery where famous Russian and Soviet composers, artists, and writers are buried daily except Thursdays. In an advertisement by a Hong Kong dentist, teeth extracted by the latest Methodist. Teeth extracted by the latest Methodist. In an East African newspaper, a new swimming pool is rapidly taking shape since the contractors have thrown in the bulk of their workers. In a Copenhagen airline ticket office, we take your bags and send them in all directions. In a Bucharest hotel lobby, the lift is being fixed for the next day. During that time, we regret that you will be unbearable. At the Budapest Zoo, please do not feed the animals. If you have any suitable food, give it to the guards on duty. From a Japanese information booklet about using a hotel air conditioner, cools and heats. If you just want condition of warmth in your room, please control yourself. Now we have in our stress tank. The first thing is up our stress tank. Can anybody quickly give us some of the stress tank? Anybody quickly? You have been seeing this for some time now. Can anybody explain the stress tanks and how it relates to us? Quickly. We don't want to be too long. Anybody quickly just give us an idea of the stress tank and what it entails. Hello? Nobody want to try? Brother Jonathan, you want to try? Or Sister Ayadel? Sister Dell? Can anybody try to give us an overview of the stress tank? That's before us. Wow, my students are going to sleep. Is it that stressful? Hello? Anybody out there?
Yes, I'm hearing Pastor. I have no idea what's a stress tank, please.
We have been talking about that for the last two presentations. All right, we have these stressors. If you look at these, you have the stress tank, yeah, then you have the, on top, you have the stressors, right? You see the stressors at the top? And under that, you have strain, loss of job, trouble financially, relationship conflict, excessive change, sustained illness, steady constant worry, overwork, reoccurring cumulative irritants. So these are the things that are going to be stressing you out. You strain, loss of job, financial problems, relationship problems. You always have to change, sustain illness, right? Steady, constant worry, overwork, recurring accumulative irritants. So these are what's going to be poured into the stress tank. How do you get it there? Then you have the overflow. When the stress tank overflow, it's because you have a called health breakdown. You're prone to accidents. You always have relationship problems and mental illness. So these are going to cause the tank to overflow. All right. In the effort to close the pressure or close the pressure relief valve, you have to do something. You have to avoid certain things like caffeine, liquor, alcohol, overuse of drugs, smoking, and escapist addictive behavior. In other words, avoid being by yourself when you have an issue. Find somebody to talk to. So you have these stressors, you have the overflow, which is the health breakdown. All these are going to cause problem, but then you're going to close that now. And we did mention that we, as some Adventists, we don't really use caffeine, liquor. Somewhat might use prescription drug. We don't use illegal drugs. We don't smoke. So some of these things may not be something that we could identify in terms of what we need to avoid. All right. But then now we have the tank size now. The tank size now depends on the condition of your health. It depends on the relationship, social support, executive hardiness, how much you're working, attitude, belief system, type of personality, whether type A, type B, and endowment or heredity, things that I think you're entitled to. So the size of the tank will depend on your health, your relationship, all right? Attitude, type of personality, endowment. And we said now to relieve the pressure valve now, whereas on one end you close it, on the other end you need to open it now. How you open it now? By prayer, all right? And relaxation, also exercise activities, viewpoints, eating healthily, enabling love, loyal friendship, love relationship, time management, organization. And so for you to close the pressure valve, you have to pray, relax, exercise, eat healthily, love your neighbor, have good friends, and make sure you have time management. All right? All together here? Understanding so far?
Yeah.
Is it getting clear to you now? When you look at the stressors, you look at the stress tank on the left-hand corner, my left, or your left also, you have the stressors, you know, things that stress you out. And we know if your tank overflows, you have health breakdown and all these things. So I want you to look at it and keep in mind what you have here, and this is how you can relate to it. All right, so you can relate to it. We're going to come back to it as we go through. Now, the 7 keys of stress management, and we know the acronym is prevent, prayer, spiritual centering, relaxation, exercise activities, viewpoint, eating healthfully, time management, organization. Now, you see the N? Can anybody tell me what the N stands for? Quickly, anybody student? The N. What do you think the N here is talking about?
Nutrition.
Right. Yes, and ahead, yes, nutrition. All right, nutrition. All right. That's what nutrition is eating. Now, nutrition is the foundation of a good stress plan, and that is by Dr. Emmanuel Sheraskin, Medical School, University of Alabama. Right? So nutrition is key for any good stress plan. If you're not eating properly, you're deficient. When you're deficient, you'll have health issues. Now, how eating healthfully helps? One, promotes physical, mental health. You got to eat well. All right? Enables alertness and concentration at critical decision-making times. So those of you who like to skip breakfast, I want to admonish you, try your best to start to learn to eat breakfast. That's important. You need the nutrients, you need the vitamin, you need all what the breakfast has to give you a good boost for the day. Also, it reduces stress from chronic disease due to lifestyle factors. Your food, folks, is your medicine. All right? Now, when you eat food, this is just by the way, so when you eat food, the food is supposed to do three things to your body, basically. One, provide you with nutrients. Also, it cleanses the body and it heals the body. So the food does three things. It provides nutrients, it cleanses, it heals. So if your food ain't doing these three things, you're then eating wrong food. Simple. All right? That's why when you eat food, it helps to reduce the chronic disease due to lifestyle factors. All right? Now, the 10 leading causes of death in the US, all right? Heart disease, 39.5%. Cancer, 28.7%. Unintentional injuries, accidents, 5.6%. Chronic obstructive lung disease, PODC, COPD, I think that is your COPD. All right, 4.8. Pneumonia, influenza, 4.5. Diabetes, 3.2. Suicide, 2.3. Chronic liver disease and cirrhosis of the liver, 1.7. And atherosclerosis, 1.3. So these are the leading cause of death in America. And we see heart disease top the list, then cancer followed by strokes, etc. And you see down the line here. Now, how to manage stress by eating healthfully? Eat the right kinds of food. That's why I just said that the food must do three things. Can anybody remember that quickly? What are the three things the food must do? Let's make this interactive, folks. We're all learning here.
Nutrition.
Uh-huh.
Offer nutrition, cleanse and heal the body.
Right. And you see why it says that eat the right kinds of food? So if you eat the wrong kind of food, what's going to happen to you? If you eat something that's going to cause you to be constipated. Beg your pardon? Somebody make a comment?
Your immune system is going to break down.
Right. Now, one the culprit that will tend to clog the body and do not heal the body is refined foods. And refined foods are food like white sugar, white flour, and this such like. So you want to avoid these kind of refined foods. They do more to clog the system and not to cleanse the system. Rough age food high in fiber, the fiber tend to move things along the system and clean you out. But if the food is too fine, it is absorbed in the alveoli or the suction that is in the small intestine, and so all these things are absorbed by the blood, by the body, and so it stays there and it clogs the system. So that's why sometimes we're constipated. All right. So eat the right kind of food.
Question, Pastor.
Okay.
Is there any danger in consuming too much wheat
you gotta make sure if you consume a lot of wheat, you gotta consume a lot of water. Drink enough water. Drink adequate amount of water, because the reverse could happen. If you consume a lot of wheat and not enough water, then you could have a system where you could clog a system somewhat. So if you drink enough water, the same 8 glasses of water per day or even more than that, and you eat the wheat, all right? Now, for some people, wheat is a challenge. Not everybody can tolerate wheat. But if you eat a balanced diet and you have enough water in the system, then the wheat should not bother you per se, all right? It shouldn't bother you per se. But you get the wheat from your bread, whole grain, and also you get the wheat from nuts and grains, and you get fiber also from those. So it's a combination of stuff that you will get from your diet, all right? But wheat by itself should not cause problem unless you have an irritant to the wheat, unless you have an allergy towards the wheat. But if you drink sufficient water, like they have something they sell for colon cleansing, Polisium, and that if you take that, you have to drink quite a bit of water with it, as it's going to have the reverse effect on the body. All right. Does that answer your question, Ella? Okay, moving on. Now, the Surgeon General report on nutrition and health, July 18th. He says 712 page on diet and health represents 4 years of research, including 50 scientists review over 2,500 research studies. The conclusion reviewed by another 200 nutritionists. So a lot of people involved in that. All right. Now, the Surgeon General report on nutrition and health, July 1988. 1, low in cholesterol and fat. Must have a diet low. The nutrition must be low in cholesterol and fat. All right. Cholesterol only found in animal products produced by the body to process high fat diet. So meat, cholesterol found only in animal, right? So the cholesterol, the level of cholesterol depends on how much animal product you're consuming, all right? Now, there's a certain amount of fat you find in vegetables, but we're going to talk about those later on. But cholesterol, basically, the main culprit is the meat product. So you want to make sure you consume less of that, all right? Some fat essential, all right? 35 to 40 grams daily. Some fat is essential, like the amino acids and so forth. Body uses to manufacture these fighting antibodies, right? That's a fat. Need to process fat-soluble vitamin A, D, E, and K, and also cushions vital organs, insulates against environmental temperature changes, and help provide fulfilling after a meal. So some fat is okay, but not to the excess, all right? Use sparingly nuts, cooking oils, salad dressing, chips. Now, there's some nuts that are high in fat, right? The content is high, so you got to make sure you eat the right portion of the nuts that are okay. There's some that are not greasy, but some that are fatty, so you got to make sure you look at the nuts. And there's some nuts that you eat them. When you eat them, you feel the grease in them to some extent, so you want to make sure you use those sparingly. Also, cooking oils. You want to make sure that if you have to cook with oil, use cold press or cold process or natural processed oil. And also avoid these salad dressings. In other words, try and make your own dressing, because the ingredients they put in all the dressing could be a problem for your health. And of course, try and avoid too many chips that are frying different kind of oils and so on. You want to avoid. They have chips that are baked. You look at those that are baked, all right, and those that are baked are good chips. But try to avoid those or use them sparingly. Those are fried. Some other question?
Yes. Can you go back to the next slide for me 1 minute, if you may?
This one?
Okay, yeah. Essential fat. Number 5. helps provide full feeling after a meal.
Yeah, it helps to make you feel full.
Should
That's what causes you to feel full when you finish eating. But not full to the brim.
Is the objective to feel full after a meal?
You need to feel full to some extent, but not overly full. Or some folks just feel satisfied. Some folks need to feel the food in the stomach to know they're full. All right? And some folks eat to fill up all the space, but you need to leave some space for the digestive juices to enter. Because if your stomach is too full of food, then the gastric juices cannot go into digest the food. So the rule of thumb is don't eat till you're full. Leave something at the top, so at least there's some space at the top or breathing space. All right? So it's not for you to feel full to the point where you just feel you're bursting at the seams, but to feel satisfied that you have eaten sufficient. All right? As I say, basically, the fat helps to give that full, helps to feel that, well, okay, you have eaten, you're satisfied now, you could stop right there. But there's some folks who just eat. Just when they're under stress, they just eat. Right?
Okay. And what would you, I hope I'm not disturbing your flow, but I want to understand.
No, it's all right.
I'm just going back and forth between everything. You mentioned about the breakfast, and as much as possible, you try to have your breakfast. Now, I know the individuals who would say to you that, look, I can't have breakfast. If I have breakfast, it's going to ruin my day. If I have breakfast, I mean, I'm going to have a bad feeling during the day with my stomach or my throat once I have breakfast. What would you say to such a one?
Well, the thing is, there are some folks who cannot take breakfast. Unfortunately, they cannot take breakfast. Some cannot drink tea. Some prefer juice in the morning. And there's some folks who are like that. I'm not sure what has happened, but either because of time, somebody saying something? Either because of time, that might be a problem for some people, time. Others, it appears as though it's an irritant to them as opposed to be a benefit to them. So some folks don't do well with breakfast. They prefer to eat lunch and then have something for supper, right? But the approach should be, as the body rises in the morning, as the sun rises, your body should be given the best energy at that time, which comes from your food. All right? And that energy should propel you now to go through the day. Basically, having a well fortified day because you have enough energy from the food you eat. All right? Some folks can actually function well without breakfast. To be quite frank, some folks can do it. And even I myself, sometimes, if I go to the farm in the morning, from about after 5, I do all the work I can until about maybe 8:39. That's when I take a break to eat. I can't eat between that time. And if I'm home, yes, I have breakfast at the normal time. But provided I'm working, I can't eat and work. Especially after finish it, I cannot bend over and so on because it disrupts my digestion. But to answer the question, there's some folks who cannot take breakfast. I don't know why. But the rule of thumb is breakfast should be your best meal of the day, the heaviest meal to give you sufficient energy to take you through the day. So by the time lunchtime comes, you don't have to eat that heavy. And by the time supper comes, where the body is shutting down for the night and the sun is setting, it means that all the energy level is going down, which means you don't need all that food that can all the night. Because that all the night, the body can't digest all that. So what it can't digest is stores as fat. So I guess it's a matter of education, brother. Educate folks into the benefits or to show them the benefits of having a hearty breakfast. But as I said, some folks cannot manage breakfast.
My next question, because I'm asking this question because the individuals I want to help who I know have this problem. So given that, what should your lunch be like? Because I mean, you would have been fasting all night. I mean, you go through the day without the breakfast. Now I'm gonna have lunch. What should my lunch entail? Because I skipped breakfast. I was fasting all night. My body needs the
Well, you could do
nutrition.
one or two
It
things.
needs
You could have some soup, some light soup, or some hot beverage, probably some ginger tea, to break the gas. And then of course, you could have your choice of carbohydrates, like you may have rice and vegetables, and then your protein and so forth. But you need to break the gas, to take the gas out. So you may want to have some nice appetizing soup, maybe some nice pumpkin soup or broccoli soup or mushroom soup or whatever soup or even vegetable soup to break the gas, and then you could have ordinary meat like rice or pasta or brown provision, whatever. But make sure it's a balanced meal where you have your starches, you have your vegetables, you have a little fat, and you have your protein, and you should be all right. If your body has grown accustomed of that, but the rule of thumb is get something warm. Don't just go eat like that. Get something warm so that warm beverage or soup breaks the gas. Then you could go to ordinary meal if that works for you. If you can't manage the breakfast, then this approach you should take. Use something warm before you go into a heavy meal. And try not to eat too heavy a meal. Eat a balanced meal, but not too heavy. All right. And then, of course, if you have to eat in the evening, try to eat light. Don't eat too heavy because you don't want the stomach to be working while you're resting. And that's a lot of folks' problem. While they're resting, the stomach is working. All right. And they don't get to sleep well, have a kind of nightmares on. But in terms of somebody who can't eat breakfast, that would be my recommendation with them. Before they have lunch, get something warm and then eat ordinary meal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So as I said, use sparingly nuts. A lot of folks like nuts. I like a lot of nuts, but use them sparingly. Also, as I said, cooking oil. The reason why I'm saying use cold pressed oil is because heat processed oil is not good. The majority of oils we have in the stores are not the best oil because they heat processed. In other words, they heat the oil so they stretch it. After the oil is stretched now, when it solidifies or when it goes cold now or come back to room temperature now, it solidifies. All right? It gets hard. Now, a lot of folks don't know, but the fat they use in deep frying is a very solid oil that is heated thousands of times. Now, that solid block of fat that they have in a box, well secure, when it digests that, now, when it ingests it in the body now, when it gets to temperature in the body now, it also solidifies. That's why you have plaque and atherosclerosis and all this kind of stuff, where the surgeon has to open up and to cut out all these things that plug up the system, right? It's because of the kind of fat we're using. When you use heat processed fat, that's what happens. It solidifies in the body just like it solidifies outside on the countertop. All right. So you want to use sparingly of that. What I do, if I cook rice at a meal, when the rice is finished boiling, I lock it off, and then I pour some olive oil on top. Let it just stay there and simmer as it, because it's finished cooking, not cooking. You just go through and just keep it nice. All right. So that's what I do. I don't cook with fat. All right. I avoid frying. I do more steam of everything. All right. When used sparingly, nuts are healthy. Olive oil helps preserve artery elasticity. All right. So when you use olive oil, it helps to preserve the arteries. It helps to line and keep them from getting brittle. All right. Also, it is good for those who have heartburn or acid reflux because the olive oil helps to line the esophagus or the windpipe. You see, it's not lined like the stomach. So when the gastric juices come up now, when you have acid reflux now, that's where you get the burning sensation. So if you take a teaspoon of olive oil, cold compressed olive oil in the morning before the meal now, it helps to coat the esophagus so that whatever backs up now do not burn you, but it feel normal as you go along. All right. Also, you have corn oil can help lower blood cholesterol. Canola oil decreases blood clotting potential. All right. The idea that not no fat, but low fat. You need some level of fat, but not high fat, low fat, as much as possible. The goal, not more than 30 to 65 grams of total fat daily. All right? Not more than 20 to 30% of total calories. So you want to make sure that you eating the right amount of calories and the right amount of fat. The goal is not to eat the fat if you don't have to. Very little fat. You do need some fat, but make sure it's the right type of fat, the omega acids and so on. Now, another thing you need to do if you're going to have good nutrition, you got to learn to read labels. That's one of our biggest injuries. We're so in a hurry to shop, we just pick up things, we don't look at labels. Folks, you got to read labels, see what's in it. All right? On the thing, you have the nutrition facts. It talks about the serving size, whether it's half cup or 114 grams. All right? Serving per container. How much serving in container? All right? And then you see the list goes down: the amount of fat, saturated fat, cholesterol, sodium, salt, total carbohydrates, sugars, dietary fiber, sugars, etc. And what kind of protein, how much protein you have there. Then look below now, you see the vitamins, whether how much vitamin A, how much vitamin C, how much calcium, how much iron, and so forth. So you have to read the labels to see what is in the food. All right? And then, of course, on the right now, you see the nutrients, you see the total fat, less than 65 grams, saturated fat, less than 20 grams, cholesterol, less than 300 millimeters, sodium, less than 2,400 milliliters, and you see go right down there. So you got to read the label, folks. So just don't go and pick up things off the shelf. Learn to read the labels. I know you're in a hurry, so when you're going to shop, plan your shopping so you have the time to scrutinize, because remember we said before, your food's supposed to do 3 things to your body. It must provide nutrition, it must cleanse, and what? Build the body. All right? So it makes sense to see what you're eating. It makes sense that you're not consuming too much fat and very little fiber. The goal is high fiber, low fat diet. All right? Also, the General Report Nutrition on July 1988, low in cholesterol and fat, high in complex carbohydrates and fiber. All right? So you want to make sure that your fiber intent is where it should be, because that fiber is going to help clean the system out as you go through. That's what it was designed for, to help clean the system. So those of you who don't like fiber, you don't like wheat and bran and grains and so on, you got to start to educate your body to accept these things. So because these are what's going to help to clean you and provide the nutrients you need. Now, the single most influential dietary change one can make to lower the risk of this disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, etc., is to reduce intake of food high in fat and to increase intake of food high in complex carbohydrates and fiber. So that's what I've been saying all for the last half an hour. Reduce the high fat and increase your fiber content. All right? That's the goal. Now, carbohydrates and high fat, you have whole grain, the bread, then your fruits, vegetables, all right? Then you have your your dips with your radishes, your carrots, your broccoli, and other stuff you could use, all right? You don't want to have a diet that is high in fat. You want to have a low fat diet. That's the goal, low fat diet, all right? So you have the fruits, nuts, grain, legumes, beans, and so forth. You got to make sure you stack up on those. Now, the benefits of high fiber. takes longer to chew, which aids digestion and makes one feel full sooner. All right. So when you use a high fiber, it takes time to chew. And I guess some folks like to go in a hurry when they eat, they like to cut and swallow, I hope none of us cut and swallow, You gotta take a time to chew because the more you chew the food, the more the digestive juices in the mouth is at work. And the more you chew the food, they use the word masticate, the more you chew or masticate the food, the better it is when you start to swallow. You don't have the problem of choking and feeling like you feel you're losing the breath because what? You would have sufficiently chew the food. Now, the rule of thumb is to chew 32 times, but some folks say that's a lot of time, but that's how the body functions. That's how the body is going to aid digestion. When you see digestion starts in the mouth, pre-digestion starts in the mouth. If the pre-digestion doesn't take place in the mouth, it means that it's pressure for you when you get into the stomach. Because the stomach have to work overtime now to do what the mouth didn't do. All right? That's why God gave us all those teeth in our mouth. So to the food, the grinders, the molars, the canine, all them. Those that could rip, those that can grind, and those that can chew. They therefore provide better and use them for your benefit of your health. All right? It takes longer to digest, burden up digestive acid that could harm sensitive stomach lining on the period of high stress. And so the high fiber have a use because those gastric juices in the stomach, if you don't have sufficient fiber, those gastric juices could actually work on the lining of the stomach and cause irritation in the stomach. Then it could lead to ulcerated stomach. It could use to tumor in the stomach, and then all kind of problem develop. So make sure you understand the benefits of high fiber and why it takes longer to digest because it is not going to be absorbed. So the nutrients that are in it is coming out slowly, but as it chew, it is moving along the digestive tract and it's working with those things that you need to work with. So it flushes them out at the same time. Provides longer feeling of being full. All right. So you want to feel full with the right stuff, make sure you have a diet high in fiber, low in fat. Results in shorter transit time in intestine, reducing chance of bowel cancer. So in other words, then it is moving things along. When it is too refined, it sticks on the walls of the intestine. When it's more fiber, when it's high fiber now, the transit time is less. It doesn't have time to stick around. It's moving. Got nothing there for it to stick to, so it's just going. And then you pass it out by God's grace. All right? Now, complex carbohydrates high in vitamins, nutrients, fiber, low in fat versus refined foods, high in calories, high in fat. We all like the nice stuff, right? Refining a potato. You bake it, fry it, chip it, prune it. Which one is better? Anybody quickly? Which is a better approach to eating a potato?
Mashed potato.
Bake,
Cake, of course.
Based on the
bake.
calorie content, bake. Bake is still a complex carbohydrates, 125 calories. If you're French fried, look at how many calories, 530. Using potato chips, the refining escalates to what? 870 calories. Pringles, those are like Pringles. Refined city, 1,125 calories. The added calories are from, guess what? Added fat. Because the oil that they're going to use to Pringle, fry it, and French fry potato chip now, this is the oil that is heat processed oil. The heat that solidifies and then they put it in this big heater to melt down again. And each time they close for the evening, that oil stays there and it gets solid. And I have to heat it up again to reuse it because they're not going to throw it away. That oil has to be used several times before they throw it away. Right? So you can imagine what you're eating. So next thing you feel it right for some potato chips. Do you own potato chips? Do like me? You buy the chips, you put them in the oven and bake them. It's more healthy. Of course, you can sprinkle a little salt to taste, but not too many salt. Right? There's no fat there. There's nothing there. Now there's some potato chips that they sell in the some French fries they sell in the supermarket now that already come with like herbs and different kind of stuff in them and so on. And they say you can just pop them in the oven, bake them for about 20 minutes and so on. So those are better option than but it's good if you make your own. All right. A basic meal. All right. You have your fruits there, 15 calories, apple, that's 70 calories there. Then you have what is that now? I'm trying to figure what that is there. Then you have your milk, 80 calories there. Then you have your toast and that's that cream cheese and your toast. Then you have your meat there and your vegetables, etc. there. And you see the amount of calories that you have there. Total calories, 575 calories. Now that is too much calories, eh? I think the allowance for days about 200 calories, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I stand to be corrected, but I think 500 calories in one meal is a little bit too much calories there for you to be consuming. All right. Something added. Is what's added there? What's added? Somebody asked me a question.
Yes. Earlier when you the chart with the nutrition, reading your labels in the supermarket, and we noticed that everything is based on a 2,000 daily calories.
Allowance,
right?
yeah.
Right, allowance. And now you're saying that the 575, I mean, that's too much.
That's 1 million.
So, yeah. So,
but I say I stand to be corrected. I say I stand to be corrected. Right?
Okay.
I stand to be corrected.
Okay.
Right. So
okay then, all right, go ahead.
So the 500 and let's go back there. The 575 is what is contained is 1 meal. All right. So whatever is eat after that now should come up to the 2,000 level, no more than that. All right. That's what it's supposed to be. But we look at it now. Something added. What's added here in the picture? What's different from the picture before?
The pie.
Yeah, the pie. And what's added that?
The pie.
What's added it? What's in the pot? What's in the pie? You see 150, that more than 150 what? Grams of fat. All right. So you want to watch that. All right. So the first diet is simple diet. So this thing was the dessert was the upper. Well, look at the dessert for the next one, the pie. You see the difference in calorie? Twice as much. So you want to watch that. And the amount of calorie now consumed what? 1,500. So you just need 500 more to make the 2,000. So you see when you eat a certain meal, how much calories you put in? All right. Now, full food, pill foods. You could eat 25 carrots equal to 1 Henry bar. 3 pounds of apple equal to 5 ounce chocolate bar. 21 cups of popcorn equal to 1 cheeseburger. 5 bananas, 1 milkshake. 7 slices of wheat bread, 1 slice of chocolate cake. 5 baked potatoes, 15-ounce steak. We're comparing here. 60 stalks of celery, 12 marshmallows. 600 cucumber slices, half cup peanuts. You see what's happening there? Can anybody explain what's happening there in this comparison?
The amount of calories you're getting from the vegetables or the wheat, the amount you have to eat.
Welcome, my dear.
On the side, you only eat, for instance, in the first case, you would have to eat 25 carrots to get the same amount of calories you will pick up if you eat 1 O. Henry bar. And for most people, 1 O. Henry bar is nothing. But the amount of calories in those on the left-hand side is much higher to the foods on the left-hand side.
Okay. All right, thank you so much for that explanation there. That's our nutritionist there, our dietitian. Welcome our dietitian aboard this evening. So complex carbohydrates, high in vitamin, nutrition, fiber versus refined sugars, calorie rich, nutrient poor. All right. So the complex carbohydrates starch, sugar, 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 and refined sugar, still sugar. All right. You see in there? So you need some level of, you need some complex carbohydrates, right? Sister G, can you help me with this one? So I'm going on the right track there. With the complex carbohydrates.
Sorry, I got sidetracked just now.
The complex carbohydrates.
Okay, yeah, the complex carbohydrates basically are things like wheat, provision, the whole grains. Those take a longer period of time to break down in comparison to what we call these refined sugars. Those would be like the simple sugars, things like honey, maple syrup, things like cake, pastries, pastas, those things that are processed would be referred to as refined sugars. So the processed foods are the refined sugars, while the complex carbohydrates are those that are more in the natural state, like the wheat products, the provisions, and so forth.
Right. Thank you. Right. So blood sugar level rises, eating sugars. All right. And then eating the complex carbohydrate actually lowers the blood sugar level. All right. So when you use the refined stuff or the highly processed food now, that tends to rise the blood level up. But if you use the complex carbohydrate, they tend to give you lower blood sugar. All right. Now, again, this is a general report as we're looking at low in cholesterol and fat, high in carbohydrates, high in complex carbohydrates and fiber, low in salt, right? You want to make sure that your salt intake is salt and stress. Research with animals suggests that salt may be a stress-reducing chemical. Salt increases the number of brain cells receptors for the stress-triggering hormones and seem to promote irritability. All right. So you want some level of salt is good especially iodine salt, but you want to make sure that you're not too hard and not too much on the salt. Go easy on the salt. All right? So you don't want to complicate matters there. All right? You like what you eat? All right? That's a chef there doing his stuff there. And you look, you have a statement, you like what you eat. All right? Apart from that, you also avoid restrict use of tobacco and alcohol. Well, we're not guilty of that unless you're drinking silently or secretly drinking, nobody knows. But as an Adventist, and for those who might not be Adventists listening to us, we want to avoid or restrict use of tobacco and alcohol. Tobacco, alcohol, and stress. Used by many for stress coping. Now, after finish drinking, the stress is still there. So the booze or the alcohol is not the best to take away the stress. It adds to the stress. Right? Result in boomerang effect creates greater long-term stress. So you drink and you smoke, you might have temporary relief, but then when you come out of that, when that thing wear off now, the stress will come back even more greater. So you want to avoid alcohol and tobacco as much as possible. Now, the number one reason smokers give for continuing to smoke is that it helps them deal with stressful situations. Some people like that. Some say the smoking helps them to concentrate. So they give all kind of reason why they should smoke. But nicotine also creates some of the very stress it appears to relieve, because it keeps you going back, especially trained smoker, somebody who takes one cigarette and light the next one, because they're not satisfied, so the stress level ain't going down. It's climbing, and if they keep smoking, it's going to go down. But the more they smoke, the more it's going to go up, because the body gets accustomed now, and the body feels that it needs this stuff to keep going. All right? It's just like an alcoholic. Even though the alcohol is bad for the person now, they're still drinking because the body says, look, I need this to cope. And so they cannot cope if they don't take it anymore. Then you have the problem of withdrawal syndrome or kind of stuff happening because what? Those guys on drugs. When they take the drug, there's something in the drug that keep them asking for more. That's why they have to steal and do a kind of thing to get the money to buy the drug. Why? The thing they get on a high, but it is a craving. The body is telling you need something that the body didn't need in the first place. Why? Because they get accustomed for doing for so long now, the body figure, well, look, I can't live without it now. So the best thing is not to start, or if you start, try best to reduce it. You can take some stress, you can take some effort, but the best thing is to try and get yourself going off it. If you can't do it by yourself, go and get help. Go to Alcoholics Anonymous or go to non-smoking clinics, and they will help you as you go along. Alcohol, not a healthy beverage. French people drink more wine and have less heart disease than do Americans. But compared to Americans, people in France per person also eat half the number of eggs, 30% less sugar and syrup, 29% less meat, 73% less, 70% more fruits, and grains. All right? And that's by Schafferberg, MD. All right? So you see that even though they say the French folks drink more wine, they have less heart attack than the American because of the fact that the diet is different also. They eat 30% less syrup, they eat half the amount of eggs, 29% less meat, and of course, 72% more food, vegetables, and grains. Right? So they're able to compensate for keeping the body together by making sure that they have the right amount of fruits and vegetables in their diet as compared to the American diet. Alcohol, not a health beverage. The World Health Organization experts emphasize that in the fight against the adverse effect of alcohol, it is insufficient and unwise merely to promote the concept of moderate drinking for health reasons, or of the option that the publicity given to this concept is not the result of rigorous scientific research, but is to a large extent inspired by commercial purposes, right? And this by the World Health Organization. So we have to educate folks on to the harmful effects of alcohol beverages and to make sure that we counter the advertisement and so on that's going on to promote it. Like I said, it's for commercial purposes, basically. Some people manufacture stuff not so much for health purposes, but for the commercial value and for the making of money. All right. That's why I say read labels, because a lot of stuff in the supermarket not good for food. But we only customer things that we create habits, we create appetite for things that are not good. In spite of any short-term stress relief alcohol may appear to provide, it reduces considerable short-range and long-term stress, right? Small amounts can lead to dependence. Some still have social drinkers. Moderate drinking carries risk of impaired neuromotor coordination and judgment, right? Excessive alcohol increases risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, liver disease, cancer, neurological disorder, and nutritional deficiencies. All right. So whatever level it is, whether it's a small amount, moderate, or excessive, alcohol is not good for the body. The Bible says, wine and mocker, strong drink is raging, and whoever is deceived whereby is not wine. And also says, look not on the bottle when it is red. Right? Because it's still like an adder. All right. Then the World Health Organization, the National Academy of Science, and the National Academy of Science Food and Nutritional Board, as well as professional medical researchers in general, do not recommend the consumption of alcohol in any amount as a prescription for health. All right? So the Health Organization is saying no, and all the other agencies say no to alcohol for health purposes. And the Bible says drink a little for the stomach's sake, and everybody have their interpretation about that. But we know there's some form of alcohol or some level of alcohol in certain tonics and so on, like SS tonic, that's alcohol thing there, and other tonics too, and some medication of alcohol in them too. So we have to avoid and make sure that you could get addicted from even the medication you take. All right. So you gotta be careful and make you question as to what you're getting and what you're ingesting. All right. Then of course, achieve healthy body weight. So after you have a low cholesterol and fat and high in complex carbohydrates and fiber, low in salt, avoid the use of alcohol, achieve healthy body weight. Make sure you're not overweight. All right. Follow the pyramid. You have the food pyramid there. Make sure you have your right oils and your fats. All right. The best fat or the essential fatty acids, the omega-3, 6, and 9. This is what you really need in the body. Other things you can actually do without. So you need a food pyramid. You have your food guys. You have your cereal, your rice, pasta, the group 6, 11. So let's start from group 1. The fats and oils. All right. Use sparingly. Milk, yogurt, and cheese group. That's 2 to 3. Then a vegetable group, 3 to 5. Then you have the meat, poultry, fish, beans, eggs, and nuts, group 5, 2, and 3. And then you have food group 2 to 4. All right. And of course, you have your cereal, your rice, pasta, group 6 to 11. So you want to make sure that you understand the food pyramid, understand what's in each section, know which one you need to avoid as much as possible, and which one you have to have less of as much as possible. Remember, the goal is to maximize the positive and to minimize the negative. All right. Eat vegetable fats, oils, and sweets and salt. Eat sparingly or avoid as much as possible. All right. Low fat or non-fat milk, yogurt, cheese, French cheese, and fortified alternative group. 2 to 3 servings. Eat moderately. Vegetable group, 3 to 5 servings. Eat generously. All right. Legumes, nuts, seeds, and meat alternative group 2 to 3 servings, eat moderately. Fruits group 2 to 4 servings, eat generously. All right? Then whole grain, bread, cereal, pasta, and rice group 6 to 11 servings, eat liberally. All right? So you see exactly what you got to eat more of and what you got to eat moderately, eat sparingly, etc., etc., etc. All right, healthy eating summarized. Eat liberally in nuts, natural state, whole grain, vegetables, fruits, legumes. Eat sparingly of nuts, refined sugars, cooking oil, dressing, etc. Avoid harmful substances, tobacco, alcohol, caffeine, etc. Drink sufficient pure water. Right? 6 to 8 ounces of glasses per day. Right? 1 clear elimination daily. All right? So, how to manage stress by eating healthfully? Eat the right food, kind of foods. Eat the right amounts. Right amount determined by body signals. Weight, overfull feeling, drowsiness, sleep disturbance. All right? Right amount, large breakfast. All right? And we see the scale here of Bristol Law study. 39 years. Men, right, 11.6 usually, and 16.3 really. Women, 7.8 and 10. Right, so you want to make sure if you don't eat breakfast and right kind of breakfast, this is what's going to happen to you. All right, so eat the right amount, large breakfast, medium lunch. All right, light supper. That's what we have been saying all night. Large breakfast, medium lunch, and light supper. All right. So how to manage stress by eating healthfully? Eat the right kind of foods, eat the right amounts, eat at the right times. Meal times only. You eat. No snacking. Avoid between meal snacks, usually high in empty calories. All right. Eat between meals, dead in 9 years. So men who eat between meals, 11.9 really, and 14.3 daily. Women, 8.3 really, and 8.1 daily. So you want to make sure that you not fall in the wrong category. Of course, the stress harbor, try and avoid confusion as much as possible. Try to space yourself out. All right? And then we're coming on to the end of our presentation for this evening. And we trust and pray that your nutrition level will increase better and that God will give the right amount of nutrition and make sure that you fish for the right stuff and not for the bad stuff. All right. So that brings us to the end. Any questions?